So today is a pretty special day for me, and I am going to share with you in a minute why that is. And I'm going to be using that special celebratory day to help you with this training today. So I'm going to give it another 20 seconds or so to get everybody on. But whilst I'm doing that, I am going to put on screen why this is such a special day for me. So today is the day that I will cross the 30,000 follower mark on LinkedIn. And I'm super excited about that for a number of reasons. But today's session is all going to be about the 10 lessons I've learnt from building a following of 30,000 followers. It's taken me a bit of time to do it. Obviously, I'm not the quickest out there. I'm not the person that has, gone from 0 to 100,000 or anything like that in 6 months. I don't think those stories are necessarily authentic. But I'm glad to see that LinkedIn is culling all of those fake profiles and killing down all the engagement pods, etc., that have helped some people get massive followings. So good morning, everyone. I see a few more of you have just joined. For those of you who have never been on one of these sessions before, my name is Sam Rathling. I'm a LinkedIn expert, platform specialist, and these sessions are completely free to help you. So as I mentioned just now, 30,000 followers. Why should anybody care? Why should anybody focus on growing their following? I'm going to talk about all of that today. So first off, I have a poll for you that I'd like you to answer about where you are at in terms of your followers. So for those of you watching on YouTube, you can comment below in the answers to these questions. For those of you with me live, you can answer them on obviously on the Zoom session. So my first question is, how many followers do you actually have at the moment? So there's a few drop downs there you can pick from, the kind of ranges that are there. So do you have between 0 and 1,000? Are you more than 20,000? Like, whereabouts are you at the moment? If you've got no idea, just click on the no idea. You'll find that information on your LinkedIn profile, by the way. Secondly, do you have a target for the number of followers you want by the end of the year? And finally, what do you think impacts follower growth the most? So I'll give you 30 seconds or so to complete your answers. Okay, good. I will share the answers in just a second. I see about 50% of you have answered, so let's get the rest of you through and then we'll share the results on screen. Okay, good. So majority of you, 63% of you are sitting between 1,000 and 5,000 followers, 32% under 1,000, and a very small percentage of you over like between 5 and 10,000 followers. Okay. 79% of you do not have a target for followers. Interesting. So obviously from that, I'm going to be sharing with you the fact that you definitely need to be having a target for number of followers. If you're not tracking this or measuring this, like, you're missing out on an opportunity. And we'll talk a bit about why followers are important, how it can impact your LinkedIn success. And majority of you are saying combination of the above in terms of what impacts follower growth. So we're going to talk about that today. Is it content? Is it commenting? Is it building your network? Is it a combination of all of them? Okay, good. So thank you for interacting. I am quite an interactive speaker, so feel free to use the chat box. If you have a specific question about what I'm talking about today, please feel free to use the Q&A button that is on the bottom of the webinar screen. And I will come to it at the end, or if it's relevant to answer at the time of you answering it or asking it, I will do so. So any questions in the chat box, I'm going to just redirect you to put them into the Q&A. If you have a question about LinkedIn, social selling, anything to do with LinkedIn marketing that is not relevant to what I talked about today, again, feel free to ask it. I'll stay on at the end to answer those questions. Good, right, let's get started. So for me, there are 10 lessons I'm going to share. Now, I will be putting these up on the newsfeed at the point when I hit 30,000 followers, which I might need your help with a bit later on today. I'm going to put 10 lessons today that are the things that I pull out in terms of my journey on LinkedIn. Now, I've been on the platform a very long time. I've been on LinkedIn since about 2004, like early adopter, was in the recruitment industry, used it for finding candidates, then used it for business development since 2005. And I've been teaching this stuff since 2010. So I feel quite qualified to kind of share my lessons about how I built my following. So the first lesson of building to 30,000 followers is to build your network daily. And when I say daily, I mean every single day. This is about proactively adding people into your network who are in your ideal client target market. Now, if you're not proactively growing your network daily, because every new connection becomes an automatic follower of you, then you're not going to grow your following. If you're just relying on inbound connection requests from other people wanting to connect with you, or people just coming across you and happen to follow you, you're not going to grow your following at speed. Now, there were over lockdown and fairly recently some limitations from LinkedIn in terms of how many invites you could send in a week. It was about 100 every rolling 7 days. However, we are seeing that those limitations are being lifted slightly. And we have clients and our own team and myself even getting to the point where we're kind of pushing out between 100 and 300 invites in a week and still being okay and not getting limited by LinkedIn. So if you are not proactively adding people into your network, you are not going to build your following to a large scale. Now, having a big following obviously means you get more reach on your content. You've got a higher chance that you're going to get found by people in your second degree network. Obviously, the bigger the influence you have, I call it the circle of influence. The bigger the circle of influence, the higher chance you're going to get those inbound leads. The higher chance that you're going to get visible, credible, and seen on the platform. So if your organic reach is low at the moment, if you've got hardly any impressions or crickets when you're posting, it is because you don't have a big following and you don't have people kind of in the network that are actually going to do that. There's lots of other things that affect it, but following is one of the biggest things that affects it. Yeah, so Matt, you're locked at 100 invites a week at the minute with 1,500 followers. Can I just ask a question? Are you sending a message, like a connection message, personalized message with each connection request, or are you just hitting connect? Just type which one of those. Yes, each time. So that is what's giving you the limitation. If you stop sending the message with it and just hit connect, you'll see that the limit will go up. We're seeing a difference in no message versus message at the minute. Now, I would always recommend sending a personalized message to someone that you really, really want to connect with. But if you're doing network build at scale to peer level connections, so if I'm connecting with, say, small business owners or people that are in the speaking, training, coaching kind of industry, like I don't send a personalized connection request. However, if I'm targeting a chief revenue officer of a company with 5,000 employees, I will definitely personalize that request. So I tailor mine depending on target market. So I've answered that question now because it is relevant to what we're talking about. So you might find that your limitation will lift if you take that personalized message off. Okay. So building your network daily, that is a biggie in terms of growing your following. Now, every new connection becomes an automatic follower. If you have a newsletter, for example, people that automatically follow you as well will get invited to subscribe to your newsletter. So there's lots of benefits to building your network. Second thing is content, right? Now, I've talked about content a lot. If you haven't been on any of these sessions before, they're all up on my YouTube channel. Go have a look at some of the ones around content ideas and creating content. But if you're invisible and are not posting on the newsfeed, you're not going to grow your following. Like if you do a decent post on the platform and you get good impressions, you're going to get first degree connections seeing it, but you'll also get second and third degree network connections seeing it too. And that's a way to grow your following. So I did a post recently. It's just gone over the 70,000 impression mark. It was 2 weeks ago, but my following jumped massively when I did that post because obviously the higher number of impressions you can get, the more chance that other people are going to see it. So if you get lots and lots of engagement on your content, then the higher chance that you're going to get those inbound follower requests as well. Now, if you are in creator mode on your LinkedIn profile, you will automatically have your profile set to follow only. So it's not just about getting those connections first degree, it's also about building that following. So creating great content and not just posting for the sake of posting, but really solid, engaging content, minimum 3 times a week. If you're not posting 3 times a week, you need to try and get yourself up to 3 times a week. If you can get yourself to 5 times a week, even better, you'll see it grow faster. And there is there's no penalty now for posting more than twice a day. So if you really want to ramp it up, then get yourself a couple of days a week, try and get a couple of posts out. But 3 to 5 posts a week minimum from a content perspective if you want to grow your following. Third lesson I've learned is being vulnerable and being authentic and showing up as your true self is the best way to grow a following that is engaged and that is really kind of supportive of you. Now, I know it's hard to be vulnerable and be authentic and be yourself and everything else. And people talk about this all the time. But the minute that I started sharing more of my story and my journey, both in business, as a single mom, as a, as somebody that's recently become sober Sam, like all those things that are part of who I am. I don't hold those back from the newsfeed, but I do it in a way that also shares lessons and advice and tips, etc. So 80 to 85% of my content is very informative, educational, showcasing my expertise, but there will still be a 10-15% of my content that is authentic, vulnerable stories, more personal side of me. And that has definitely helped to grow my following. I found my voice. I kind of hid it for a while, but if you have an opinion and you don't share it, you're just going to blend into everybody else. And there are lots of other people out there that do what you do, regardless of what type of business you have or what job you do. There are lots and lots of other people out there, and the noise and the newsfeed is getting busier all the time. So your job with your content is to cut through the noise, and you're only going to do that if you show up as your true, authentic, vulnerable self. I was recently, this week actually, or last week, I was asked to feed back to a coach. She's part of our Social Selling Academy, and she was really struggling with impressions. She sent me like 3 or 4 pieces of her content, and I was like, I don't get you in any of these posts. Like, I know you, I know what you're about, I know the value you bring to your clients, but I'm in your target market and I don't resonate with a single post. And it was quite harsh feedback for her, but ultimately she took the feedback on board. She listened, she trying to, she had a lot of inner critic going on, but she was like, look, I'm going to try and be vulnerable, be authentic, show up as my true self. She did. And the post that she did this week has absolutely flown and got lots of engagement. So because she's shown up as herself. So I don't think we really show up as ourselves. I think we put on a facade, or we put out what we think people should do because fear of judgment, etc. So being vulnerable and authentic, like that has massively helped to grow my following. And I hope you see that coming through my posts and in everything I do. So number 4, the 4th lesson, it's not just about building a following, it's about building relationships. Now, LinkedIn is all about that. Like if you're just here because you want a following or you want an audience, if that audience is not filled with people that you're wanting to build relationships with and network with, then you're missing an opportunity. Now, I worked out I probably know about 1/3 of my followers because I've spent many, many, many years traveling to different countries, building, networking. I'm a networking beast. I have, done lots of different things in my career, spoken at lots of different events. So I actually probably personally know about 1/3 of my followers. Is about 10,000 people. I've got 11,500 contacts in my mobile phone. So I know a lot of people, right? I'm quite well networked. But along the way, even people that I'm connected with or followers that I've picked up along the way, I've built some amazing relationships. And by focusing on growing a strong following, you will find relationships and professional relationships and partnerships that you can build that will take your brand to new heights. Simple things like maybe someone connects with you and they invite you on their podcast, and that podcast is, maybe not big at the minute, and it gets big, and then suddenly you've got, all these extra people that know about your brand because of one connection you made on LinkedIn. That certainly happened for me, and I know it's happened for a lot of other people on, that I know in LinkedIn. But think about the impact of that follower. If you don't engage with that follower and you don't build a relationship, then how are you going to take it to the next level? So don't just build a following, build relationships. That is lesson number 4. Lesson number 5 is linked to that, and it's about engagement. So quite often I hear people going, oh, I'm not getting any engagement on my post. Like, who here? Type yes for me in the chat box if you are struggling with engagement and getting impressions on your content at the moment. Let's see if anyone's struggling with that. Okay, majority of you. Oh, yep, yes. Okay, so here's one of the reasons why. If you're expecting your followers to engage with your content and you are not engaging on other people's content consistently, and I don't mean just like the odd post here and there, I mean, get really involved in the newsfeed, support your followers, support the people that are in your network, actively treat commenting like you treat content. Like, spend as much time on commenting as you do on creating content. Commenting for me and reacting and engaging on the newsfeed is like the new type of content that you need to be doing on LinkedIn. So if you want others to engage on your content, you need to be engaging on other people's content. So my recommendation is to ring the bell on the profile of say 50 to 60 people that you rate their content. Now, they could be people that have got big followings, they could be clients of yours, they could be people that you just want to support, but at least get notified about the posts as they come through. And then engage with those posts, because if you're not engaging with the newsfeed, then when you post something, the newsfeed is just going to be crickets. So like that is a good strategy. I've done an entire video on commenting is the new content. It's about half an hour long. It's up on my YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the description on this YouTube replay so you can get straight to it. But engagement and commenting with your followers is the only way for them to see your content as well. So if you're posting and ghosting, you're not going to get a growth in followers. And if you are posting without engaging, then you're not going to get engagement on your own post. So that's an important part of the process. You've got to engage with your followers. There's no point in growing this big following if you're not actually going to do anything with it. Number 6, a favorite one of mine, and I talk about this a lot, is to give and give some more. It's really important that you are out there providing value and that you are out there giving stuff away, right? These sessions for me is my version of a give, right? Every week for the last 3 months, I've shown up on a Wednesday morning and given you free training ultimately, right? So it's really, really important that you are focusing on how can you give value to the people that are following you, because let's face it, people are on the newsfeed because they're either bored or they're trying to sell something. So people need to be, need to find value in what you're doing. So if they're bored, you've got to capture their attention. If they are, I've done a whole bunch of different training on this, but ultimately you've got to give things away. And by giving, and it doesn't have to be free trainings like I'm doing here, it could just be something super helpful to them. It could be a useful article, it could be a useful video, for example. But giving, if you're here to get, then that's the wrong mindset. Don't go to the LinkedIn platform to get, go to the LinkedIn platform to give. Think, how can I be helpful, valuable to my potential prospects, to my following? Because ultimately, the more you give, the more you get back in return. But also, if you guys are out there thinking, wow, Sam's like doing all this training for us, and I'm not even paying her, imagine what I would learn if I actually engaged her, right? So there are lots of reasons to be giving. I've got all of these free training sessions for those of you who are here for the first time up on my YouTube channel. So feel free to go look back over the last kind of 3 months worth of content. And I'll continue to put those up, and I will be sending out occasionally on emails like the replays as well. Number seven in terms of lessons of building to 30,000 is your LinkedIn profile has a big part to play in whether or not someone A, connects with you, and B, wants to follow you. So if you're sending out connection requests to people to invite them to follow you and connect with you, they are going to look at your LinkedIn profile and they're going to make a decision about whether or not they want to connect with you. So your LinkedIn profile, particularly things like your featured section, I did a whole session on that last week. Your featured section needs to be packed full of value. So links to free resources, articles, videos, like lots of things that are going to be like, oh, this person actually has some credibility and I can learn something from them. So it's important that you do that. You're going to create through your following some loyal raving fans, like people that just talk about you, refer you, tag you in posts, etc. That's going to happen, but you're not going to get that unless you can grow your following, and your profile has a big impact on whether or not someone decides to connect with you and follow you. Lesson number 8, patience. Now, for all of you who are under 5,000 followers right now, you're probably going, oh my goodness, like how long is it going to actually take me to get to 30,000 followers? Now, it's taken me a while, right? Like I'm not an overnight, big following person on the platform. Like there's plenty of people that will be like, yeah, I joined LinkedIn last year and now I have 100,000 followers. Like a lot of those people and those stories have been done through engagement pods and through ways that now LinkedIn is clamping down on, thank goodness. In fact, a lot of them have had a massive cull in followers because LinkedIn is getting rid of fake profiles and inactive accounts and accounts that have just been used for that purpose. So you'll see some of the big creators talking about the fact they've lost 5,000, 10,000 followers overnight. I lost 300 in the coal. Like that majority of my followers were all authentic, real people and not fake accounts and things like that. So it's taken me, just to give you an idea, I was at 2,000 followers in 2011. So I've taken a while to get to 30,000 followers, but I've done it quite strategically. So majority of my followers are people I've handpicked. Majority of them are my ideal client. It's not just been about getting a certain number. For me, it's about getting a following of engaged people that are in my target market. So I'd say 90% of my following is fitting into one of my 4 different target markets. And I spend various amounts of time on different types of target markets. So at the moment, I'm focused on corporate. I'm focused on kind of scale up tech companies. So I'm connecting with a lot of chief revenue officers, for example. But for the last couple of months, I've been focused on small and micro businesses. So it just depends. But I'm always very strategic about who I'm actually targeting and who I want in my network. So for me, it's not about a numbers game. It's about quality of followers, and the right types of people, but also doing it in a way that you can grow. So be patient. It took me 12 years to get to 30,000 followers. It might not take you that long. I don't expect it to take you that long. The platform has changed massively over the last kind of 4 or 5 years. So I've really had the most traction probably in the last 4 or 5 years, pretty much since it became much more of a B2B kind of network and professional platform where content is, content creation has been a key thing for LinkedIn. But in the early years, it definitely wasn't about that. So I've definitely seen the biggest jump in the last couple of years. But definitely be patient and don't expect that you're going to go from 1,000 followers to 50,000 followers like that, unless you are consistently putting out the most amazing, brilliant content, and suddenly your brand just explodes on the platform. And I know a few people that has happened to. Number 9 is all about setting goals and measuring it, right? Because nearly 80% of you on this live session said you don't have a target for the number of followers you want by the end of the year. So that's what I'm going to get you to do now. I'd like you to write down and share in the chat box with me, how many followers do you want by the end of 2023? Write it down for me. And I want you to put it up somewhere in your office or in your work environment so that you can see that particular goal. Perfect. Great. Jason, first one in there. A couple of thousand. Great. 4,000. Nice. 10,000, Daniel, 5,000. Okay, good. So it's important that you've got something to aim for. So yeah, it could be a percentage. I want to grow by 10% each month, or I want to grow by 10%. I track this on a daily basis. Our whole team tracks this on a daily basis. We officially record our stats every week, but I look at this number every single day. So it's important that you are thinking about it, tracking it, measuring it, looking at your what's my 30-day follower growth? What's my 6-month follower growth? What's my year follower growth? And actually look at the percentages, because it's really important that you're on this. I know my 30-day follower growth rolling because we track it and our system does that. So every one of our team, doesn't matter what level of position they have in the business, from our CEO to our administration team and our agency, everyone tracks their followers, and everyone is responsible for growing follower growth, because we know that has a big impact on the business. But it's important that you know that it's there, and look at where you get a spike. If you have a big spike in follower growth, think, what was that from? Was it that I did more prospecting? Was it that I, proactively added more people that day? Did I have a piece of content that went, a bit more viral than my other ones, right? So think about the things that impact it and track it. I did a post yesterday about what are your LinkedIn PBs. So was my daughter running the 100 meters, and I was talking about PBs in athletics. So if you do want to know the kind of stuff I track and measure, go have a look at the post I did yesterday. Okay, and the final one is your habits, and then I'll come to questions. So daily habits, weekly habits, monthly habits. There are certain things that creators and people with big followers do on a consistent basis. So for me, my daily habits are making sure that I am network building every single day. That was lesson number 1, but I'm network building every single day without fail. I'm also engaging with the newsfeed, commenting on other people's posts on a daily basis. That's a really, really important part of it. We've talked about that in the lessons too, but that is a daily task. If you are not engaging with the newsfeed, you're missing out on an opportunity. And I am at the moment posting every day, but if you're not doing a minimum of 3, but for me, I try to get a post out Monday to Friday and occasionally at the weekend. So those are my kind of daily habits. My weekly habits would be tracking and measuring all my stats. So looking at my social selling index, looking at my follow, all the stuff that we've talked about in here. But it's really, really important that you are prospecting, that you're engaging with the newsfeed, and that you're posting. If you're not doing those activities, your follower growth is going to be quite slow, and you're not going to be growing at the speed that you want to grow. So I love seeing all these targets in the newsfeed here. I hope that you found the lessons useful. I'm going to go to Q&A now, because let's have a look. Okay, so Michelle, I can't see any followers, just connections. Did I miss something? Right, so Michelle, with you, if you're not in creator mode, so if you're in creator mode, it will be at the very top of your profile. If you're not in creator mode, you'll need to scroll down, or go to my network, and on the left hand side you'll see your number of connections, but you'll also see followers and following. So my network, left hand side, you'll see the number of followers. What are crickets? I just mean like cheep, cheep, you know, like in the cartoons when like everyone goes silent and it's crickets. That's what I mean by crickets. So in other words, it's just like tumbleweed, like nothing happening when you post. That's what I meant by crickets. Okay, Anne-Marie, you've said, does going on holiday for 2 weeks upset the algorithm gods? This is if you're not using scheduled posts. So it won't upset, but it will just take longer when you come back to get momentum again. So I would recommend scheduling a few posts over the time when you're away, but there's no point in doing that unless you're actually going to be there to engage with them, because they're only going to get traction if you like and comment, etc. So if you are going away, it won't necessarily upset the algorithm. It will just mean that you'll take longer to get that momentum back when you do go ahead. You're welcome. Right, let's have a look. We've done that one. Rob, you've said, is it Sales Navigator where we can set up a group of ideal clients and then only see their feeds? Yeah, so that is an option. Majority of people that attend these sessions are not using Sales Navigator, but absolutely, if you do have Sales Nav, you can set up a saved list of customers or people that you want to follow, and then you can go across to the Sales Navigator newsfeed and only see those people. They are rolling out the option to just segment that by the list that you've got, but yes, you can see the lead shares from the people that are in Sales Navigator. That's done. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. David, you said, what's your take on using post platforms to schedule? I wouldn't be using external platforms to schedule, because LinkedIn now has its own scheduling tool, and if you're using external ones, you're potentially going to get impacted from an algorithm perspective. So you can now schedule posts within LinkedIn. When you go to create your post, you'll see a little clock, and that little clock, you can click on it and choose when you want to post that post. So I would use the LinkedIn version basically if you're going to be scheduling. Michelle, is it better to be in creator mode? Do you have a video on creator mode so I can find more about it? Yes. So there is a video on creator mode, and I do recommend that you have it switched on, especially if you're going to be posting at least 3 times a week. And if you've got 1,000 followers or more, like definitely be in creator mode, 100% for sure. That's done. Let's have a look. Michelle, you've seen loads of posts recently with some form of signature, who they are, who they help, ring the bell, etc. I don't do it on every single post. I do it on some posts, Michelle. So you can do it. But again, the algorithm is looking at things like request for engagements, like comment below with this, or, you know, so I don't think there's any harm in saying like ring the bell on my profile, or follow me here, or go subscribe to my newsletter, etc. I don't mind that at all. But I don't do it on every single post. I know some people that do it on every single post. Right, so that is us done for today. That's all the questions done. However, I've got a big ask today, because I'm only 50 followers away from 30,000, and I know it's going to happen today, but if you have had value from today's session or any of the previous sessions, I would love you to do a post on the newsfeed sharing some of the things with your network that you have learned from me. Tag me in the post, and if you do a post today where you tag me in a post, I'm going to select one of you for a VIP one-to-one coaching session, which is worth quite a lot of money, to help you with your LinkedIn strategy. So anyone that posts today on the newsfeed tagging me, talking about these free sessions, sharing anything you've learned about LinkedIn from me, is going to be in a draw, random draw, for a free one-to-one hour coaching session. So love to see those posts. Help me get to 30,000 today, and then I'll be sharing some more content on the newsfeed about this, capturing all the stuff we've done today. This will go up on my YouTube channel, so for those of you watching on YouTube, comment below if you've got any questions. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe and like, etc. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week. And thank you so much for being here. If you have enjoyed today, please pop in the chat box for me what one thing you're going to do differently out of the lessons that I've shared, so that I can see what action you're going to take. There's no point in showing up to these with me unless you're actually going to take action. So what one thing are you going to do differently today? Nice, Linda. You're going to set some goals and follow up on them. Amazing. Love it. I love it. Thanks, Paul. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Andy. Any actions? Right. Create a 3-month plan. Love it, Kate. That's brilliant. 90-day plan. Amazing. Regular content. Brilliant. That will help with your following. Good job, Rob. Comment more. Yes. If you haven't seen my commenting is the new content video, definitely go watch that on YouTube. Rose, you're going to send requests to connect daily. I love it. Perfect. Amazing. Right. We are 2 minutes past the hour. So thank you everyone for being here. I'm Sam Rathling. And remember, if you're not linked in, you're totally linked out. See you next week.